So I'm along with a few others. We are hosting this forum where most of you have been very active for quite some time. So it's an initiative. We are all working professionals. We are trying to do something, engage with people uh, in the construction community more, and engage with students and create a synergy between working professionals, currently graduate students, and undergraduate students. So we all could understand what is required by the industry and discuss some very engaging and interesting topic. Good to see a few more people joining now. So we had the first talk last week, which was attended by about 20 people, considering the fact we were working out logistics, how to host it, all that. We want to take it light. And now we have the second talk. And what I had to say is feel free to suggest topics. I know some of you are master's students, some of you are undergraduate. So if you have some very interesting topic, we'll try to bring in industry people to give talks just like this one. So feel free to give your suggestion. And this is not a classroom forum, more like a technical forum with professionals. So feel free to ask any questions. So we want to keep it as engaging as possible, and in future want to bring in lot of diverse people in the construction industry to talk about various aspects. So going into today's talk, as you can see in the platform, first I'll give a brief introduction about ConstructX and what we all plan to do. And Venkat, next slide. Yeah, so basically this is, we have created this forum as one of the branches of the activities we are trying to do. So ConstructX basically does consultancy, workshop, technical training, and the picture you see is from the training that was conducted in IIT Kharagpur a few years ago. And we are hosting this forum. We got this idea of hosting this forum recently, where we wanted to engage with different people in industry and students, bring in a lot of discussions on aspects that is going on in the construction industry, construction projects, problems which can be discussed, so we all can learn. And we are very happy in the last few months that we have created this forum. There has been a lot of very interesting discussion which I could listen to. People come out and put their thoughts, a lot of people sharing their site experiences, which makes it very useful. Even I miss that when I was doing my undergraduate, we never had such forums which could actively discuss topics. So that's what ConstructX does. So we are trying to organize this Tech Talk series, and we had the first talk last time. Next slide, please. And this will be the second talk in that series. The last one was on, next slide, Venkat. The last one was on a new cement that is being currently developed, and this one will be on building information modeling. So the second Tech Talk discusses an overview about building information modeling in architectural engineering and construction industries. It will be delivered by engineer S. Venkatraman. He's a postgraduate degree holder. He's been in the BIM industry for past 7 years, working with some of the big BIM companies in the country, like Covi or Autodesk. And he's been very active in the BIM industry, doing a lot of projects for Middle East, massive construction projects for Middle East and other parts of the world as well. So we are very happy to have and listen to its 7 years of experience in the BIM. So we all get a gist of how BIM is coming up in terms of a discipline, what it could do, how we all can understand some aspects of it. So if you are interested to know further, you can reach to Venkat, and we can also try to organize sessions with Venkat to give a basics of BIM for a lot of us who are working here. Fine. So with this introduction, I'll leave the stage to Venkat to go on and give the lecture. Welcome, Venkat, and thank you for accepting the
invite. Thank you, Yuvraj, for the warm welcome. And hi, friends. I'm Venkat Raman, and have been in this building information modeling industry, I could say, from beginning of my career. Maybe I didn't know I was actually entering BIM in my early stages of my career, but it was all about BIM, what I could see in the future. So with these 7 years, I could say like I started my career initially as a trainer or corporate trainer, basically, who deals with applications with Autodesk especially. So with that insight and corporate knowledge, or at least like project requirements from big clients, I could understand that BIM is actually being the future of our industry. And also there is a lot more opportunities which we have in BIM, apart from what we are so far like experienced, that site engineering works or structural engineering works. There is also BIM, where a lot of opportunities are waiting, and people who have graduations in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, as well as electrical engineering are being dealt with this. So it's not just a civil engineering based uh, technology or a management process. It's actually common for any department which come across the facilities which we built. It can either be a building, it can either be a bridge construction or a infrastructural construction. So anything it could be. BIM is something, a common platform where everyone is trying to deal with the facility or the management work we are focusing on. So without further delay, I'll just start with the overview, or like what is building information modeling and what we have in building information modeling and what is being expected in the future is what I'll be going through. So today's agenda will be like this has been a presentation to give even people who are not aware of BIM as well as who are in the field of BIM. And so it's more of understanding the problems and how BIM helps in it, and where BIM can be applied in the industry. And if you go in advance, there are some codes and standards which we have to follow. And I could also give you some insights about opportunities or the amount of career options we have in BIM. So talking about the typical problems in construction industry, this has been a quite common set of problems which we can see from the traditional practice, where there's a coordination error which comes into a change orders and then reworks, and because of the time delay there is a lot of cost involved. There are litigations and claims between ventures, and there are frustrated owners whose output, what they have imagined or what they have desired, is not being met by the consultant or the constructor. So these are quite generic or like quite common problems which we actually face in the construction industry. So for any problem, we have to first analyze the cause of it, and we have to provide the solution. So building information modeling or management, I could say, is actually a process management. So it's not just using an Autodesk Revit or like Tekla or any other 3D modeling tool to just model. It's actually understanding the need for the project and giving the utmost care on the project output, that is the deliverables, so that what is being expected is what being delivered. So on that note, this typical problems have been first identified, and then there was a process or like the management which we have defined as what building information modeling or building information management. So like we have given this two definitions based on product and based on the information. So one is based on the product, which is from Autodesk, which they have said about how the 3D model can generate plans, section, elevation, and perspective or schedules out of a single source model. Whereas it can also be set in the other way, that reliable decisions or focusing on the facility is what building information modeling is. So it can be taken in either terms. It can just be taken as a model. It can also be taken as a facility where you have decisions to make throughout the life cycle. So the genesis has been so far like from sketches to 2D drafts. From there we have switched to AutoCAD, and now we have BIM. So BIM is actually a single source model or a data source from which the entire divisions which are involving in the construction industry can rely for information and derive information. So if you consider a facility, anything right from plans, sections for site construction, or for analysis, or for energy audit, or for scheduling the components, or to know the cost, to understand how it is being erected, the construction sequencing, everything can be derived from the source or the single source model. So a 3D model along with right information for the construction and after construction is what building information model is. So this could actually vary between companies based on the level of information they are providing to the clients based on the scope they have. So here you can see the CAD format of doing the construction deliverables to the model, which was basically using AutoCAD, where we prepare the plan, we create sections and elevations individually to finally get the output of the model, which was only for visualization, which is basically a LOD 100 model, I could say. Whereas in case of BIM, you initiate the model from the conceptual stage and develop to a detailed design. And from there, you deliver the plan, sections, elevations, and the schedules and cost, whatnot. So this is the difference of the deliverable we are now focusing on BIM. And this has been quite difficult for people who have followed the traditional practice, but now it has still, I mean, slightly changing, where you don't think about the call out sections or the plans, but rather you think about the facility as a whole and the need for it. So that gives you a better understanding for the client, the constructor, and the designer. So
Venkat,
this is just
can I
yeah,
suggest something? Just right click and select pointer. So
yeah, okay,
yeah,
sure.
sorry.
So yep,
No, right click and select laser pointer, pointer options. Yeah, laser pointer.
okay,
Yeah, thanks.
thank you. I'm not introduced much to Zoom. We have been doing in Teams. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
the
sure,
update.
thanks.
So yeah, moving on to this parametric modeling. So far, like the reusage of components or reusage of the drawings is not quite common in our industry. So that has been made easy by parametric modeling in today's world. So it's not just actually, this is a small depiction of Revit, where you can find the model, the respective plan sections, and the schedule of components. So any change in the model we do will get updated in the plan, and then it gets updated in the schedules, vice versa. So this enables faster changes and better output in our model. So for instance, I can say like there are levels which we create for elevations. In sections, again, we prefer to create elevation levels, and then we have to specify the grids which will be repeating in different views. So these are something which we have been doing in CAD. So it's a time consuming process, and we are repeating the work what we are doing. Whereas now we are just producing the grid, and we just make a decision or a click of a button to make sure it is visible in the respective views which we require for. So in short, I could say the building model what we are actually having is actually the database of the model. So when I say model, it can either be a building, or it can either be a bridge construction, or a marine structure, an offshore and a jacket structure, or anything it is of that kind. So in this process, so this is basically the process which we have now. This could be a common process. Usually it would be a straight line. It's a conceptual design, then we deliver to the detailed design, and then we I mean, both basically the analysis and the detailed design goes hand in hand, and then we start delivering the documents, and then it goes to the fabrication yard for the fabrication in case of steel structural. And then if you see the construction sequencing, which requires cost and time, and it involves logistics movement, and then once the building is done, we go for operation and maintenance. And some cases, when the life cycle of the building is done, we go into demolition or renovation phase. So this particular building information modeling cycle is nothing but a model being centralized, and through this life cycle, the single model is being considered for the entire process. So this actually differs in the way of the project delivery. So if we see the traditional project delivery, it has been the architects working individually with the other clients, consultants, and then we have the contractor who constructs, and there will be communications from different positions. So basically, the architect to contractor, architect to subcontractor, or consultant to contractor is actually one among the problem we have in delivering the output. So in case of integrated project delivery, in this process, it is a shared model. So when I say model, it's the information or the database of the project, and it is being a transparent medium for the client, for the architect, structural, MEP. So whatever be the divisions we involve, it is being a transparent medium where everyone can access, where everyone can view, comment, and come up with decisions. So what would be the influence of BIM in the industry so far? So what I have been we have overcome in this past few years is the visualization and communication. So when we start to visualize things, it was a better understanding for people in different divisions to understand what is the actual output which is going to be constructed on the site. In that way, clashes, coordination errors can be avoided. So this improves the visualization, they improves the quality of the construction, and also avoids coordination error. And as I said, like communication within teams, even within teams, like between architects to construct structural engineers, to MEP engineers, or to the site engineers, there might be some communication errors which we might not address it time to time. Whereas cloud-based shared models nowadays have made it super easy for people to sit between locations and still have a control on the model and the deliverables. So this has actually improved the communication between people sitting across the globe. And coordination, this has been a very major change we come across in industry nowadays. So actually checking the clashes beforehand during the construction is what makes the construction clash-free model in the future. So when this is being done, you can actually find it much more helpful, where change orders can be avoided, rework can be avoided, time can be saved, and cost can be, the claims and litigations, whatnot. So yeah, cost uncertainty is one among the reason which we always have in budgeting the construction. So schedules are being made as per the model, and we have the right information of the right model we are going to place. So we can compare designs beforehand and give a cost estimate to the client beforehand, and he can decide upon it, and we can deliver accordingly. So that has been a major plus point in that. And the prefabrications which we have so far has improved in recent times, because the accuracy and the precision on the modeling and the design has improved now. So yeah, the management data, which we always have a problem, has now taken a step ahead, and we can actually visualize an empty space with the model what we have created in our 3D modeling tools, using the recent trends of augmented reality or a mixed reality. So this gives the designer as well as the client to virtually understand his building beforehand of the construction and make changes then and there. And yeah, so rising energy consumption has been a problem in our industry as well. So like civil industry has been the major consumption industry of energy so far. So we can create more sustainable designs based on the 3D models, or like based on the informations we provide to the models. So that was also a major solution. So with all these major application solutions, the applications have been even like categorized in BIM into different dimensions. So 3D is something which we commonly know, which is for the visualization of the model and for understanding the actual model in place or in construction. And when you step to the next level of BIM, it is 4-dimension, which is actually the time-based model, where the model and the construction sequencing. So we do project management using Microsoft Project Manager, and then we do using Primavera tools. So when we have these tools to actually create schedules of the construction, we can actually link with our model and check the timeline based on the model construction. So this improves, or like this helps us in following up the construction which can be made in time. And there is the next 5th dimension, which is cost-based model. So any component in the model what we have created can be linked with the resources required. So men, material, money. So these are the 3 major resources which we have to look into during construction for any component in our facility. So that can be linked, and for each component in our construction we can really understand the cost of it. 6D, which is the energy dimension of the model, where we can check what is the electric consumption, what is the water consumption, what is the energy consumption in total. So we have HVAC analysis, we have airflow data, and climatic analysis based on the orientation of the model. So all this has been possible only because of using a single source model all through the life cycle. And the 7th dimension we have as the facility management. This has been a very big area of interest, where we have industries, we have pipeline industries, we have oil and natural gas, and we have commercial industries. So where they have actually made the best use of this facility management, if not for buildings, residential buildings, at least it is majorly used in other industries where the facility management is of major advantage. So on a overall, I could say the benefits have been for collaboration, better collaboration, enhancing performance, optimizing the solutions we have, delivering at a faster rate, and then we can actually reduce waste. So in project management study, we have agile and other techniques to reduce the waste and do the construction in an efficient way. Now actually BIM has stand out in a way that it has also given us a really positive note in the construction industry, where major wastage have been reduced during the construction, and it has been proven. So just talking about how this workflow in BIM. So far what I have said is what is BIM and how it is helpful, and what it can influence in the projects. So basically how BIM works in the industry is people from different divisions create their model, they collaborate or refer other models. Basically it's like a AutoCAD XREF, where we just link the drawings to other drawings as a reference. Here we do model references directly, which gives us a collaborated model where we can see an architectural component, structural component, and MEP component together in place, which gives you a better understanding of the actual real scenario model, which is nothing but the facility. So this is one of the first and foremost setup we have to have in order to begin with a BIM project. So then we have to define what is the level of detailing or like level of development we need to have in the model. So there is basically conceptual design, preliminary design, detailed design, the construction output, and then we have the as built. So these are the set of stages, I could say, where these level of detail or level of information varies. So for instance, if there is a column, and to represent column, we can just provide a rectangular or a circular element which with some length. So basically it's just length and the dimension of, that is the cross section dimension of the column, and this could not be required actually in conceptual design. So preliminary design has the information of the dimension, and then the detailed design has the information of the concrete grade, the rebars involved in it, and then we have the construction design where we provide details of the bar bending schedule and all the relative information to be constructed on the site. So the as-built drawing, which will be the drawing which we deliver it to the client once the construction is in place and everything what is being on the document is being delivered on the site. So that is how the as-built. So this way the level of detail varies, and it actually varies between the companies and the scope and the projects. So it has to be defined based on that, and it is also depends based on the other areas. So about the project management in BIM, so we have to actually have a scope which we always have, and the scope definition has been improved in the recent times, where the client has defined it more precisely because of the understanding, and the contractor or the consultant can also deliver it more with more clarity, as it is quite visible, or I could say transparent for both the client and the contractor. So budgeting beforehand, even models have been created during the estimate stage to get a overall understanding of the budget, which was previously done manually. So we do have manual calculations, but still we try to compare with models, which actually gives us a precise information. So there is this variable tolerance which we give plus or minus 10 to 15% in different construction based on the overall budget. So that was one among the advantage or like the management stuff which we can compare with. The coordinated design is the major outcome of this BIM with respect to the project management. And yes, the site planning. So real-time construction has been quite easy with the help of using the map data with large data being used, where we can do a minute or a miniature modeling of a building to a maximum of infrastructural modeling, where you can go for kilometers and still understand how it works in real time. So that has improved the idea of planning, and scheduling was one among the important function which we have harnessed in this BIM project management area. And procurement management has also started using the build 3D model or the BIM model, with which they have identified the amount of material, and they know how much material has to be procured upfront and during the construction based on the model scheduling we have provided them. And risk management, this is something we can say the 8th dimension of the BIM, where we can understand the safety of the labors and the construction safety, constructability, possibility, and risk factors during the construction, which can also be done during the model phase itself. And yes, as we have already said, like based on energy aspect, we have reached at sustainability aspect also in understanding the facility and getting more sustainable outcomes, which will also help us in getting LEED certifications in futures. So just this is just a quick walkthrough on whom, or like what are the people who are actually involved in the BIM industry. So as I already said, like it is architects, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and energy consultants. So for architects, they do have their own set of benefits, and for structural engineers, they can actually get the analysis done quickly with the mod. So basically here, there is no different models being created. So it is actually the original model initiated by the architect, and positioning of columns and beams and everything has been done, and that is being transferred to the structural team, where they do the analysis, they make changes, and then it is delivered back to architects if there is changes, and with changes, without changes, and that is actually a single model which goes through all this process. So HVAC analysis, in order to understand the plumbing routing or pipe routing, conduit routing, we have electrical routing. So everything is actually based on the architectural model which they have initiated. So basically here the model is being shared between teams in order to deliver their own designs. So here the base model is going to be an architectural model, and the design by the MEP team will be on their area where they run the ducts, they run the conduits, they run the AHU units. They plan it in a better way, and they also come up with better solutions. When there is a false ceiling, there might be clash detections in the model. So where we have pipe running below the false ceiling. So there are certain situations which have been overcome due to visualization and coordination. So such errors can be avoided. So that is the field, or like industries which are like people who can be part of this BIM. And now talking about the BIM standards, we have been following NBS Uniclass 2015, which has been upgrading their standards, or like doing their classifications for modeling. And there are other codes which are based on British standards. So there has been the standards prepared for countries specifically initially, and later being used by other countries with certain changes. So basically these are like codes or standards which has been initialized, and now it has been improvised to meet the market requirements in other areas. So people who are doing projects with European code, who is doing work with Middle East, or even it can be American codes or British codes, can have certain changes based on these set of standards, and they can actually make a BIM execution plan for their project and make a best use of it. So this is just a glimpse of the standards what we have now, and it is actually getting added. So far, the industry has very well established in India. I could at least say, if not before, now we could actually say people required for BIM has improved, increased in the count, and the projects in different nations, what we actually see like Europe market or US market or even Middle East market, has looking for more resources into India. So as we always know, like outsourcing projects is what India is the market for. So as I have been working in this industry, I have worked with projects in Middle East in my earlier stages, and later now in Europe and US. The major BIM team have always been in India. So that has given like companies, major companies, to have huge set of people just to actually deliver the projects with the BIM models. So understanding the requirement, India is actually a growing market in BIM. And if not our own projects, we actually get the outsourced project from the other part of the nations. So that has been a very big benefit so far. And comparing to few companies we have within India, this has been just a survey report which I had come across in the Glassdoor. So this is nothing but the awareness of BIM and how much have actively considered the usage of BIM. So now the awareness of BIM is much more than this 43%. This has been quite before this data. So it has actually increased, and now we are seeing this 8% of actively considering the usage to more than 30%. So this is the recent trend, and it's the client who is actually questioning or like asking for the needs. So basically you can't deny, or if you deny, you can't be in the market. So that is one among the reason people are like focusing on BIM nowadays, and that can be used as a opportunity for people who are eagerly looking into an chance into getting into the core industry in either terms. So I'm just showing you some of the projects majorly which have initiated in BIM in the recent times, which is like Bangalore Metro, which was done by Mott McDonald, and Chennai International Airport expansion was also done by L&T and Nagarjuna Construction with the BIM as a base. And we had some power plants in India, which is government projects which have also mandated BIM. Recent days, we had a chance to work in few projects where the government has mandated BIM under a clause where it has to be used in the deliverables. So it's basically the understanding of the government that they have understood the use of BIM in recent times. So yeah, this was my project case study in our own construction. This model, this building was actually constructed in Aalborg in Denmark, and we just had a small comparison of how BIM has benefited us in this. And we basically use the cloud applications, as the BIM team is residing in India and the design architectural team is basically in Denmark. And so that is itself one among the BIM management, where using cloud collaborations to communicate and collaborate model between locations. So locations doesn't matter nowadays with the advancements we have now. So there were like clashes identified, and such clashes would have costed us more, and that was calculated based on the change order values and the calculations we have between the client and the contractor. So we have actually identified it has helped us prevent almost like the major change orders of 45 in total, and the total cost was actually it's in Denmark krone, which is actually in 104,871 Danish krone. So this is just a small idea to give you that when you start comparing the usage of BIM in real-time projects, this could be some value which you can actually compare and see in reality. And yeah, this is something I could see nowadays. People have been more focusing on making even the repetitive works to take it standardized and give a faster result using programming. So Dynamo is one among an arithmetical programming application where you can provide informations, and we can link the model, and we can derive the output at a faster rate. So it's not just Dynamo, we have Rhino, we have Grasshopper, we have other programming languages like Python, C#, other languages which we use it in real time to actually deliver the output and actually create processes and management in a faster pace. So it's not just modeling, even certain conditions have been done for the betterment of the modeling. So if it takes time, what to be done in order to make it faster? So that is where this Python Dynamo programmings come into picture. So these are areas you can actually focus, or this will help you and stand out in the market in the future days. So talking about the opportunities, we have a lot of positions now. It depends or like varies between ventures or the companies and the projects we deal with. In general, we have the project manager, which is the BIM manager, who actually coordinates with all the disciplines, and there will be a BIM coordinator who coordinate multiple disciplines. At the same time, there will be coordinators for individual disciplines. So a coordinator is who actually coordinate information between the number of BIM technician or the BIM modelers in the team. So basically, BIM modelers will be in more in numbers, and they will actually try to get coordinated with the help of the BIM coordinator, who actually deals with the client and receive information. So there are different levels based on the experience and based on your understanding. And then we do have subcategories, or like we have associate BIM modelers who works only on the individual design modeling, who actually well aware of individual tools like Tekla or Revit or Civil 3D or MicroStation. It could be EcoSim. There are a lot of tools nowadays in the industry. It's just you have to find the right tool, you have to master it, and then you can actually get a right opportunity in the industry. So with respect to the hierarchy, so I could say the hierarchy would be BIM manager, BIM coordinator, the BIM modeler, the junior BIM designer, and the CAD persons who help them to finalize designs. So this is a small list what I have come across and what we are actually focusing in our company too, or the recent trends in BIM. So someone who is well aware of the programming languages like Python, she actually has a very good advantage in the current industry. And we also see virtual reality and augmented reality being a major take, and scan to BIM. So laser scanning, we have equipment scanning, where we can actually get the real-time point cloud data in order to create the models. And yeah, 3D printing, whichever industry you consider, the 3D printing has its own benefit. And there has been drone surveys which have made a common impact nowadays in the survey point. And Internet of Things, this is nothing but the cloud data sharing is quietly limited to design teams or the team sitting in the office. But Internet of Things is nothing but even the site team or even the end user is also connected with the progress and the model in the live time. So that is how the Internet of Things is actually being seen as the future. So yes, that's it from my side, and you're welcome with the questions now.
Thank you, Venkat, for this overview about BIM and sharing your experience on working with different aspects of it. So as you may know, we have a very short forum. So we are open to questions. So feel free to unmute and directly ask your questions to Venkat.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Hi,
myself Anand, and I have a particular question which is actually happening in my company. I am not aware of it. The thing is, whenever people model in Tekla, for example, a steel structure, what they do is there a direct path to import such models to Navis work? Because what they do is they give the STP file to a person who works in S3D or PDMS, and that person then imports to Navis work. And while doing that, if the environment in which they work in Tekla doesn't match with PDMS or S3D, the profile list doesn't match. I mean, there is a for example, you use an angle like 75 by 6 angle or something. The naming tag, if there's a difference between Tekla and S3D or PDMS,
yes, we call mapping.
Again, they have to do that mapping work. How this can be solved? I mean, is this the actual route how we have to import a model from Tekla to Navisworks?
So yeah, what you are actually saying is about the interoperability issue, which is between Tekla and we have it with the Navisworks or even PDMS. So we just have to find the right format for a better communication between the applications. If not, this is a question where the programming comes in. So not every application we work is actually having a smoother interoperability, especially if you take a Revit with Tekla, even they do not interact directly. We make use of IFC models. So there is always a change of format in order to make it communicate. But that's actually a problem with respect to the vendor, which is like Autodesk or Trimble. So they try to establish their own product. At the same time, they don't give the flexibility of giving the change of format or a export format for other applications. That is where this problem comes in. So we do have PDMS pipeline industry team who is working, and we do have Tekla team working. But I could actually say one has worked out with STP, another one who works with IFC. So the conversions is not always standard here, because even Tekla or the PDMS have not defined the format for the conversion so far. So it actually depends on the requirement or the possibility you can do this conversions. If the model is just for reference in the other model, then it is fine. If not, we have to create it as an IFC, and then we can take it. In this case, naming format, you have to deal either with small programming, what we do in CAD, like a Lisp. So that can actually do
mapping work.
Yes. Yeah. So this mapping, instead of being done every time or like manually, this can be done in a quite shortened format with the help of this programming language, because it has been done in my company where people actually spend some time on doing that, and they make sure it is not a repetitive work, at least in the future.
Okay. So, but is it possible to directly import from Tekla to Navis? Is it possible? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, it just needs the data tools have to be at least made sure. I mean, you have to make sure the Navisworks data tools, I guess you know that there's a option called data tools in Navisworks. You just need to tweak some options in that in order to get it done. Else, you can, as you are already doing, go for a STP conversion. Yeah. Else, go for an IFC conversion. IFC conversion is the best over STP, I could say.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
A nice presentation anyway. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It's actually quite happy to see programming being incorporated into construction. People often associated with us, civil engineers, with brick and mortar. It's good to see Python and other programming language coming in. So before taking the next question, I'll go through some of the questions which are there in the chat already. Yuvraj Muniappan asks how construction engineer career, someone who's a construction engineer, can be transmitted into a BIM. What part he needs to follow? If I understand correctly, he's a construction engineer. He wants to get into BIM industry.
Okay. So just with my understanding, as a construction engineer, we would be less exposed to the technologies basically. So the first and foremost step would be stepping into the technology, or like understanding these tools, because tools are the first step to go into the BIM process. So once you get to know the tools and once you get there in place for the projects, the BIM will have its work around you. Even the projects you work will give you a much exposure. So the first step is to learn the tool. So learning the tool is what I could say the first tool you have, first step you have to take in, which will later get you converted or like get you to places. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Venkat. Maybe in case some people join late, I gave an introduction where we described about Constructex. So let me just brief it. So we are a registered firm and we are trying to offer consulting services. We have been doing a lot of structural consulting and other consulting processes for construction activities. We organize workshops. So the picture you see is workshop organized in IIT Kharagpur a few years ago by me and Sai. And we also do technical training. So this forum is something which we have started newly because of the down and how it was going. But if you want to, for example, if you want to move to BIM industry, even Venkat can offer through Constructex interaction course for a very small number of people. We don't want to just open it to hundreds of people and not train you well. We can open up and you can have an in-round 12-week or 8-week planned session, and then by which you will get a certified by Constructex, by which you can also go on and try to move your career into BIM industry. So I'll stop there and I'll move. Venkat, next question is actually from me. I was wondering the stats that you showed, 70% BIM in US and 22% in India. Does this mean 70% of all construction in US is already through a proper building information model that is done?
Almost some of the constructions have been mandated by the government. So it is actually our government, maybe there is a difference. So if I say US government on the first place, it has already taken up it quite some time back. So the projects have been mandated, and that was one among the reason they have a much more higher percentage in delivering the BIM models, BIM projects at least.
Just to extend from there, do you see it happening in India as well? Because if that's the case, we'll have a massive growth for BIM-based industries and engineers who can move into this career, right?
Yes, actually, for now, at least I can give you real-time examples of where I have worked and what they have come across. To take example of the IIT Tirupati, there has been a project tender 2 years back, and I was actually had a chance to take part in that, and where there was a clause mentioned where the project, however, has to be delivered as a BIM model. So the information will only be through the model or from the actual database of information, but not just the CAD drawings, what we usually produce. So this actually gave me an understanding that even the government is trying to push construction companies to deliver informations or deliver models, so that they can also rely on the information than the construction companies at the later stage. So as I said, like the facility management is something of a large scale constructions is somewhere this is very much useful. Okay. Where you can't go through drawings, you can actually go into the model and click on a component and understand. For instance, if I click on a pipe component in a model, in a pipeline industry or in a ONGC industry, the pipe information gives me not just the structural stability, the flow analysis, whatever the information they have fed in, what is the fabrication ID they have given for it. So all these informations for a person who actually owns the unit or who actually wants to make a change or renovate or something, they can get it in a click of a button, which is not during the construction, it's actually after the construction. So that is where the BIM model helps in making it worthwhile.
Okay. Yeah. So seems like this is a way, and unfortunately our undergrad course syllabus is too late to catch up, something which has already
yes, actually it is good to start with CAD because that is the ultimatum of the construction deliverables. But in order to, like, you have to be in the industry, so you have to get yourself equipped.
And next question is from Parikshit. Yes. He asked Autodesk quantity takeoff. How does what does it do, or is it used for material estimation based on the model created in BIM? If I understand correctly, that's the question.
Based on what I have shown, it was actually in Revit. So it was actually from the model we can do quantity takeoff. So there are a lot of applications where you can do the quantity takeoff. So it's not just Autodesk. So I just want to highlight that Autodesk is just one among the companies which provide the tools for the BIM. So it could be Trimble, it could be Bentley, it could be other tools like we have PDMS, we have other E3D. So there are a lot of modeling tools, and for every modeling tool, we can actually provide them the quantity takeoff. So that is actually how the 3D tool actually works. So yeah.
Yeah, next question is from Naresh. Now BIM dimension up to 7 is being used. How efficiency is different between different dimensions when it comes to execution or design? Like how 5D becomes more efficient in design and execution compared to 4D? Or
so here, not every company adopts every dimension. So that's the first thing. So it depends on the scope. It depends on the company's scope itself. So the project might require, but they might not actually handle everything. So on that note, just 3D model is something a common factor we could see in every company nowadays. But providing the 4D and 5D, even up till 7D, is the ultimatum what we can see from the client side where they can get benefited out of it. So it's not just the contractor aspect we are seeing here. It's actually the client aspect we are actually focusing on. So when you say 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, if the client is okay to consider the fullest advantage of BIM, then they can actually get a benefit out of it. So it depends on the company who provides it, but it's actually the client who gets benefited out of it.
Okay, it's also more like within the scope of every individual project.
Yes,
not all. Yeah. Next two questions, I see it's more like how to get into the industry, which I'll come to. Maybe at the end I'll ask you to briefly share about your career so people can get to know what it takes to spend this long in the industry and how it has progressed. So before we get into that, if anyone else have questions, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions.
Hello.
Hi. Yes.
This is Yuvraj. Actually,
Yeah.
I know Python coding language.
Okay.
How can I approach for a career in the industry?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part.
How can I approach for a career in the industry?
Okay, if I understand correctly, he's asking how to apply for a career. He has already posted that he knows Python. I suppose this is directed more into career opportunities than the talk. Venkat, if you can share, like he's already in the construction industry in different domain, maybe as a construction engineer, he wants to get into BIM. So what steps he needs to take?
Okay. So the first thing is, tool is must. So with the help of tool, your Python knowledge will get you an output. So with just Python, there is, I cannot actually give you a career option. You just can't go with, I can say there are companies which provide solutions and services. To those companies, you have a better future. Like you can actually use your programming knowledge and your site or like construction knowledge to deliver. But whereas if you want to get into actual BIM where you work with projects, it is actually the tool which is required on the first hand and then the Python. So the combination of the tool and how to module or like change the tool to deliver your requirement is where the requirement of Python is.
I think if I understand correctly, good entry point would be to start off doing a course, a short-term diploma course, or a course with through Constructex, or there are other centers. I'm not trying to say you have to do with us. There are ways to first learn the software. Once you learn it, add it into a profile, you can start applying to such positions. Of course, when you change discipline within the same industry also, you need to go from an entry-level position in BIM. So you need to go from an entry-level position, and then once you start work, spend a year, then it's up to your the way you perform, you can move into the industry. But the first step, as Venkat pointed out rightly, would be to learn the software properly through any courses, do a certified course, right? Once you do it, you can add it into the profile and then start applying to positions where where you can get into BIM as an entry position. So that's why I wanted Venkat to share his experience, because he moved into BIM industry with his undergraduate and then went on to finish masters with his undergraduate and climb up over the 7 years into BIM industry. It'll be very interesting to listen, but we'll do it in the end. Do we have any other questions? I see a couple of hands going up.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rakesh calling from Chennai.
Yeah.
Hi, Venkat.
Hi.
Yeah. Venkat, look, I'm from project management background, so my main interest in BIM is regarding 4D and 5D models.
Yes. Yeah.
So I heard you telling that the schedules are controlled using BIM,
Yes,
and the cost management is done using BIM. So I just wanted to understand how it works. Is it like the plan as per the schedule on execution gets updated automatically as it is? I just want to know how it works.
Okay. So again, I'm stressing on the point of the tools here, because it's actually the collection of tools which helps in running this BIM process totally. So at some point you have some tools coming up. As you rightly mentioned about 4D and 5D, it is again a tool which actually helps you in getting it linked. Either it's between your MSP or Primavera. It could, it's actually the input. So I could say this is where you start with, but how do you come into the BIM is through another tool. So that another tool can either be Synchro 4D, or I could say Naviswork. There is also Navigate. There is a new tool which is actually in the market now, and which is also really good in doing that. So here you are not just having your MSP where you schedule your resource, you calculate the cost and manual labor. You also link with the respective components in the model. So your project team or your contractor might give you the model, and from there you can link your information on the planning, and then on hand you can actually check the scheduling in real-time scenario. So at any point of the construction in future or during the construction, you know how much is the construction in your model and what is it in real site. So this way you can actually compare whether your progress is linear, or if there is a delay, or if you are actually exceeding anything. So this is the comparison what I was talking, and this involves better understanding in the modeling versus management, as well as what is the precise or accurate cost calculations, whatever you do. Yeah.
Fine. And one more question.
Yes.
Like you said that cost estimates are being submitted based on the BIM modeling. I just want to know, is it restricted only with cost estimates, or even invoicing can be done with the BIM modeling?
It's actually the scope with the consultant whom you are dealing with. So this is not a generic rule, actually. I could say it can be done, but it is more of the scope. But as you mentioned, the first point, it is something common. Like we always actually nowadays, in order to estimate a project, it's actually being done a rough model. We actually try to get at least the member placement. We call it a skeleton structure of the model, to get an understanding of what is the overall cost or like procurement requirement in that, and then we go ahead with the proposal. Once we are getting the projects, then we start to develop that model. So here it becomes a conceptual model. In the estimation part, it is actually the conceptual model, and the detailed design, when it is being done, the developed model will also give you the right information about the cost, about the material requirement and everything. So this helps you in both ways, either to gain the project. After gaining the project, you can actually deliver the bill of quantities and the cost estimate or whatever out of the model. So here it's the model which is the central source or the database, I could say.
Okay, thanks. This was very informative, Venkat. Thank you. And thank you, Yuvraj. The team is doing a great. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Next, we have some hands up. So if you can unmute yourself one by one and ask questions. Sai.
Yeah, hi Venkat. Sai
Yeah,
here.
hi.
The presentation is very good.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, it was very informative, and you gave all the overview of.
No, you are not audible.
Voice.
I'm from a structural background.
You are not audible.
Yeah, I'm from a structural background. So my question is that, what is the detail or the depth of detailing to do with our BIM? Because let's take, if you're doing an RC building, what is the level of detailing we can do? Like, should it be modeled, or can we do some kind of an import directly from the structural software to this?
Okay. Here the process of structural team with the BIM team, actual BIM team, is actually varying between companies. But the actual process it has to be is, you develop the model. So as I said, for the estimation phase, you actually develop a conceptual model, right? So that initially developed model has to be made use by the structural engineer in their structural softwares. Either it can be StatPro, ETABS, Robot, anything. So I can specify application, like here we have model developed in Revit. So from Revit, we give you the models. It's a structural model. We actually have the columns, slabs, beam, everything being placed as per your basic sketch. So you don't basically create the model from your end. We provide the model. You make use of the model in your analysis tool, do the analysis, check for your results, and once your results is okay, and you check for the stability, everything is being done, you give back the model approving the sizes and the design. So if there are any changes in the column shape or the beam position, or even introduction of new beams or removal of beams, everything can be done in your structural model, and that can be given back to the Revit model, which is basically the BIM team itself, where they know what is the change. So basically we can visually see the change as well as visually get the model what we have delivered before. So it's not going to be a new model which we are creating. We have already created, you have received it, you have worked it, you have sent back. So from now I'm going to start detailing this model. So I'll give in the rebar information what you have provided. From there I'll provide the drawings, and from there I'll provide the bar bending schedule. So these are something automated only after I receive the finalized model from you. And if there are minor changes and you want to make it through like just word of mouth, yeah, that can also be done. But as a major process or a workflow, it has to be from the BIM team, that is who initiate the model. It has to go to the structural team. From there it has to come back with the correction, and then it has to be taken forward for deliverables. So this is the process, at least.
Yeah, I understand the process. Like from we start with the basic architectural drawing, and we go out with the sizes, and we finally give to the BIM team.
Okay.
But my concern is, let's say I'm working in a structural software like ETABS. So I am doing all my design in that. My reinforcement, everything is input in the software. Can that reinforcement detailing, can it be directly fed into the BIM, like any software for instance? Can that directly be read by your team?
So yeah, okay. So this is something development stage. There are certain softwares which have that provision. For example, Robot has certain provisions from where you can actually communicate to Revit with the rebar details also. But that rebar detail cannot be the final output because of clashes between the rebars when you have a coordinate, I mean the overall model itself. So in real time it could not be possible. So there are certain areas where you cannot 100% do it, and there are certain tools which have not been developed yet also. So this is a process of development which we have in the industry for now, at least I could say, in terms of rebar. But in terms of the cross section or in terms of the structure, we have actually now developed, and we actually have this communication between the teams. So on the rebar aspect, yes, we are developing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Anand here again, and one more question.
Yes.
Considering Indian EPC projects, and we know how tight the schedule would be and all that. And we know that detailing companies, there are a lot of detailing companies emerging. And of late, most companies don't tend to, do detailing in-house. They try to offload the job to, detailing companies. So
Yes.
in that case, when you are talking about the clash check, okay. So the clash check may be within, in the intradisciplinary clash checks or with electrical piping and all that, that can be done with the overall structure. The clash check can be done, but once the model goes to a detailing company where the details of electrical or process or piping cannot be shared to them. Okay, so once they develop the connection design and all that, again it has to come back to us, and then again the clash check has to be involved over there, which it involves more time. And then it goes to the fabrication and erection and stuff, where there is a usage of time which has to be saved, because time involves money as well.
Yes.
So this process at most times is skipped in the Indian projects. Okay, thinking our mentality is that the clash check can be solved at site. Mostly it happens like that. So
I was
at least
actually about to say that the process is not even completely considered in our projects nowadays.
Yes.
So the lag what you're speaking is actually more in certain companies where they don't even look into it, and they are not completely understanding or adopting the BIM in that case. So it's just a 3D model where they are focusing, and they think they are actually completely focusing on BIM. So BIM is a long ending process all through the life cycle. So at any point of time, if that is being taken care of, then such errors can be avoided.
That's right. Not to blame any company, but my doubt is, see, any clash that happens at site in real time, okay, it is the responsibility of the engineer to find a solution and resolve it at then and there. But my question is, can this software at that point of time understand that there is a clash and give an alternative solution which can be handy for the engineer to which can be a backup for him to take up at site? The engineer has to give the solution, but then with time constraint and all that, this
what you're expecting is an artificial intelligence, actually, I could say, because software is giving the solutions are there. There are alternatives always.
Sorry to interrupt. What I'm trying to say is that there are so many templates that you can create, so that once the structure is imported, and when detailers tend to do the connection design, just with the help of template, with the beam size and column size, the connection automatically comes, for which some programming has been done.
Yes.
This is not with respect to clash. This is with respect to the overall completion of the structure. But with respect to clash, can any template be created? Like if there's a pipe clash between a gusset plate and a pipe, or electrical trays hitting the roof or something, for that, any template can be created.
Yes, actually in Naviswork, we have this rules option under clash detection itself.
Okay.
So when you are saying like standard templates, these are the rules which I could come up with it's just an example I'm saying in Naviswork. So Naviswork as majorly being used for clash detection. There we have defined rules, and also like you can have a customized rules. So if you are a company who are working on certain set of projects, and such projects always come up with certain set of issues, we can actually define those rules, and based on that rules, these clashes can be run. So it's not like based on the available options we are only doing the clash detection. We can also tweak the options by defining the rules. Like for example, for the constructability, we have some tolerances between bolts. So apart from the edge distances and the spacing between the bolts, we also prefer some spacing between the bolt edge to the beam edge. So in that case, if our tools, like we have construction tools which we have to use to tighten or loosen, so such areas we have problems. So such tolerances can also be given in terms of clearance value, and that can also be defined in the rule tab under the class directions. So that can also be done. Yes, there is a possibility, but there are other things which, as you mentioned, we can define it, or we can create a tool for it. We can create a programming background to run it. So anything can be done. So yeah, this is something a problem specific. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else who has a question on not only on presentation about BIM in general and career in BIM? Or okay, so feel free to unmute and ask. If not, I'll ask Venkat to, because you have given this talk, and for those of you who asked how you want to move into BIM industry, I would like to say, like, you have several centers which already does the job, and some of those centers don't have people with industry experiences. So this is a forum that we have tried to pass on knowledge, but over the period of time in the last 2 months when we were having the forum, we realized there is scope for a lot of knowledge to be transferred as well, because we all work in different industries in very particular domain. For example, I do concrete research. Venkat works extensively on BIM. So we thought we can pass on lot of knowledge through this forum as well. That's why if you are interested, we can arrange a small group to have the BIM trained by Venkat, because he works on real life projects. They will be able to do a much better job, is what we believe, compared to people who just do the course in a center and finally end up teaching. So if you are interested, please reach to us. You can contact me or Sai through the forum. We don't want to have a big group in particular, because as I said, we are not doing it for the sake of monetary benefits. It's more like to pass on the knowledge. So, but of course, the time spent by Venkat has to be equally taken care of. So that will be done. So we can look at the number of people who are interested to do it virtually. Now with online coaching, people are used to virtual training, and we can try to organize it if we get a reasonable number of people, around tens or something, who will be interested, who can commit that time to engage for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. Again, it can be customized because Venkat is a working professional, so you can see what is the scope to which you want to learn and try to learn it. Okay, so with that, I'll ask Venkat to briefly share about his career path as a BIM engineer, how it has taken off from its undergrad, and over the 7 years, what all different position he held and how he had come. So I'm sure there is some undergrad or people who are still doing their courses who want to pursue a career in civil. And I see a lot of civil engineering career people moving into other disciplines, taking up an opening in software job just for the sake of pay. So if you can share your career, it will perhaps motivate some of the participants who are there to understand what it takes to find a career in the core discipline and how it has gone about for you.
Yes, Yuvraj. Okay, so I after finishing undergraduate, I just had a option to get into as a trainer, who actually as a startup company. So they have only workshops which we have to take across India in different colleges regarding the civil engineering courses specific to certain domains. So that is how I had my career started. And as I already mentioned, that led to me into Autodesk training for corporate. So specifically, I had a jump there at least to corporate. Basically, if not the understanding of the project, then there is nothing in civil we can actually do. So that experience was possibly started only after I started training the corporate, and it was a good year of learning curve. At least I could say there were a lot of tools which I was got to learn, where almost like 4 to 5 tools in Autodesk itself was my first pick through those 2 years of time. So what I understand in the first 2 years was whatever you try to learn in the beginning of your career, will actually fetch you a good position in the later stage of its life, because I could gradually become a coordinator in the projects, and then lead a team on the projects itself. So now I'm actually leading a team in my company where I could deal with projects from different locations, like from US and Europe. And that particular confidence is only possible if you can take up both your communication and your knowledge or skill on the tools. So these two hand on hand, it has to be there in order to progress in our field. So that is my understanding, at least in my career path. So that has helped in giving me the confidence, at least to express your knowledge and gaining the knowledge. And out of all, people always have this hesitation to ask questions to people, especially within the same domain. But that is where we actually stop growing. So better ask questions, never don't actually hesitate. Asking questions will give you more knowledge and gain you more knowledge. And even it can be a simple question, but that would have been simple or a big question for someone who has never got into that level of understanding. So at any point of time, you have to learn. And even after 7 years now, as I already mentioned, the future of BIM, like Python programming and other things, even I'm one among the learning student who actually is going behind programming nowadays. So even I was actually got into civil engineering only because I was not good at programming. But now my interest towards BIM has now driven me in a situation where I have to learn programming at some point of time. So basic is what I have done with the tools. Now I have to advance my tools in a way where I can customize the tools and provide the solutions to my customers. So your customer gives the result. You have to progress or work towards the result in any way possible. So just try to do that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Venkat. And I hope most of you would have find it useful. Again, it's a new initiative. We are all working professionals. We have our careers to follow, but we are doing it for the sake of disseminating knowledge, what we understand, and how better we can engage with the community. So feel free to share the link to the talk to your friends, others. So we want to grow. We have tried the last 2 talks where we could see how we can manage, and we have tried to get at least 15 to 20 participants, which we were quite successful. And I hope you can give more suggestions so we can bring in more people. Even some of you can come forward if you have been working professional to come forward to give a talk. We can see how better we can fit it within the discussion of a forum, right? Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I hope you will keep the discussion in the forum going on. And if you are interested to engage more, learn more about BIM by interacting with Venkat, feel free to do so. We have the forum to help you out. Thank you. Thank you, Venkat, for your time and giving this overview. I hope it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. See you.
Sir?
Yeah, Solunga Deepika.
Sir, is he available, sir? I just want to ask a basic question. I'm hesitant
sure.
to ask that.
Venkat.
Yeah. I think he's
Hi.
not available.
Yeah.
He's from RMK, so you're number senior done. Don't worry. Hey,
hello, sir.
He was intern with me in IIT. So, just,
okay.
Sir, I have a very basic question on Revit, sir. You told that actually in your talk, major of the things which you talked is all about Revit. In the stats you have shown, I just observed major part of the people were only Revit users, and whatever people suggest me, they just ask me to learn Revit in BIM. So what makes Revit more usable by what makes Revit more special, sir? So can I try any other 3D modeling software, or is it better to start with Revit? So this is my question.
Okay. The reason Revit is majorly used is it's not just now. They have been quite more in time, like at least for like past 10 to 15 years. They have been good at market. They have made sure like every user in the industry starts with the 3D model, at least in Revit, for three things which is benefited is one is different domains have been touched. One is structural, architectural, MEP. There is no such tool which actually there is tools which are actually now, but they have not familiarized like famous. If you take AutoCAD, it has been open sourced in the beginning years, so everyone started using. So CAD is actually a common thing, but AutoCAD has made its impression only because everyone were able to get the access to it. Like even college students were starting to learn from AutoCAD, and from there they started coming to the companies or like working career where they also continued with AutoCAD. So that is how AutoCAD flourished all across the globe, and that is a technique which Revit, where Autodesk actually followed. They try to tap in all the AutoCAD clients, and they changed them from CAD to Revit, and they started this BIM aspect of working right before the BIM flourished in India. So basically, it's not just the tool; it's actually the company who holds the tool made such efforts. So people started to learn, and many people started to work on it, and then at some point of time, it has become inevitable in part of the projects what we work now. But if you take a steel structural building or some advanced modeling, it can also be done in Tekla. So there are Tekla users now. The problem with Tekla and versus Revit is Tekla is quite costly. So a small consultant or a small company cannot actually do that. I mean, they cannot actually afford Tekla. So in that scenario, Revit is much more flexible for them. So it's more of commercial aspect. The reason why you can see Revit, and yeah, it has its own advantages also. We cannot deny the fact that Revit is good at it.
Okay, sir. And you were talking more about various dimensions, sir, like cost analysis.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it the tool that is doing all these things? Like, is Revit capable of doing this cost analysis and all, sir?
With the help of tool, yes, but it's not just Revit.
Okay. So there are many other elements involved in this. Am I right?
Yes, there are actually it's a combination of all these tools which have gives you the better outcome in BIM. So if I take the oil and natural gas industry, there is no point of talking about Revit there. So there is no Revit usage at all. You have PDMS or you have E3D tools, you have Inventor, you have SolidWorks. So more of mechanical objects comes into picture, pipelines, everything. These are nothing to do with Revit, right? So yes, even that can also be considered under BIM. So BIM, that is why like when it says building information modeling, it's not the building which we are talking about. It's actually the facility. The facility can be anything. And now this BIM term has also flourished into the infrastructural projects also. So they are trying to put more and more use of this building information modeling into infrastructural projects, which was not before. There are standards which are trying to, like we are working in a tunnel project where even tunnel components are being classified, the sub-base material, the excavation soil also classified. So this classification was not so far being done, but now that has been improved in the industry. Yeah.
And one last question, sir. Is it the is there any restriction, being a BIM modeler, is there any restriction in company to use specific software alone? Like one company says you're allowed only to use Revit, and in another company you're allowed to use only Tekla. So is there any restrictions like that, or are they
It's a
free to
company
use
specific.
only?
No, it's a company specific, because what company can afford as a license is what employees can work on, and they also recruit employees based on the applications they are working in their projects. So there are companies which only work in Tekla, where they do fabrication models. They work only on the steel structural modeling. If you consider Eversendai, is a company where they the maximum applications they use is just Tekla, and then it is small parts of CAD work. You don't see Revit there majorly, because they are only doing steel structural models, and they are going for fabrication. Whereas if you take Atkins or any other mass employee BIM companies, you can see more of Revit usage, and very few licenses of Tekla. So here the ROI matters, the return on investment. So how much ever you spend on the license of a application, which will also impact their return on investment. So you can't spend a Tekla license over a small project and expect a returns out of it. So that is one among the reason. And yes, it is company specific, and we don't have control about it. We just have to find the better application. Like, it's actually okay to learn both Tekla and Revit, or even what more like Civil 3D, other tools also. It just we need to make sure, or like we need to go along with the projects where we are working. So currently where I work in Revit, I work in Civil 3D. I make use of this Tekla also at sometimes.
Yeah,
So
was it comfortable for you to switch between the softwares?
It is not easy in a short run. Like long run, there will be only one tool you are going to go with. For instance, if I consider a project, it takes at least 6 months to 1 year to finish. So in that case, when we start working on a tool, we are not interrupted with another tool. But only when it comes to a different project with a different tool, then yeah, there is a like the speed with which you work, or the way you worked before, would actually differ. But at the end of the day, it's the output what you are inferring, and the area of expertise is what matters, right?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, nalla
Recording muduncha.
Illa stop pannira ipo.